You know me as El Rey del Corrido. But did you know I shot a man in the face for sexually abusing my older sister? My name is Rosalino Sanchez, but I went as Chalino because I thought Rosalino was too feminine. I was born on August 30th, 1960 in Culiacan, Sinaloa, in a rancho named Las Flechas. Growing up as the youngest in my family, I was surrounded by poverty and violence. My father passed away when I was 4 years old. However, my brothers taught me the way of life. When I was 15 years old, I had found out my older sister had been sexually assaulted by a dangerous rich man nicknamed Chapo Perez. I ended up crossing paths with him 2 years later at a party, and that's when I took matters into my own hands and I shot him in the face, killing him instantly. I fled to the state of Tijuana. I wasn't going to let myself get locked up for bringing justice to my family. I began to make a living for myself by helping and smuggling immigrants into the United States. Eventually, I ended up crossing myself and I moved to Oregon, but shortly after I moved into my aunt's home in Los Angeles, California. I washed dishes while I helped my older brother, Armando Sanchez, smuggle immigrants. I even sold drugs on the low. A couple of years later, in 1984, I met the woman of my dreams, Marisa Lavalleus. I married her while she was pregnant with our son, then we later had another kid together. During that same year, my older brother Armando was shot and killed in a hotel in Tijuana. That's when I wrote my first corrido dedicated to my brother. I was arrested during this time. I began to get along with several prisoners, and I even began making songs for them. Instead of being paid with money, I was paid with guns and other presents. By 1989, I recorded my first cassette and I sold them in local swap meets and outside businesses around the Los Angeles area. On 1992, while I was performing at the Plaza Los Arcos restaurant and nightclub in Coachella, shortly before midnight, I was unexpectedly shot by a man in the audience named Eduardo Gallegos. Being always strapped, I pulled out my 10mm pistol from my waistband and a gunfight began. I was shot 2 out of his 4 shots, hit my chest near my armpit, striking my lung, and I ended up missing and accidentally killing Claudio Carranza, a 20-year-old fan in the crowd. I was 11 days in the hospital and I was cleared of any charges due to self-defense. My attacker, Eduardo Gallegos, was sentenced to 20 years in prison. 4 months later, on the 15th of May, 1992, I was performing in Culiacan, Mexico, and I unexpectedly was handed a death threat note from someone in the crowd. The audience knew something was wrong. As they see my face, expression changed completely. I did not fear anyone in this world, so I kept the show going. After my event, during midnight, I drove away with my 2 brothers, my cousin, and several women we were taking home. I was then pulled over by unmarked cars. We assumed it was the police trying to escort us, so we stopped. The armed men came to our window and showed their state police cards. So we assumed the word got out, and they were attempting to protect us. I made the biggest mistake of my life. They convinced me to come into their car to ensure my safety. My dead body was found the following day by a canal. I was blindfolded, and my wrists were red and had rope marks and 2 bullet holes in the back of my head. I looked at the face of death, and I went out doing what I loved. 32 years later, my legacy lives on.